I'm becoming increasingly convinced that there's a lot of unresolved grief out there in the world and within us, and that as we become more technologically saturated, it becomes even easier to resist grief, which is a problem to begin with, resistance, because it's not comfortable to grieve. It's not something that we necessarily would prefer to be doing at any time, but in life there is always change, and even if we try to be very still in life, there is going to be change around us and in our relationships and in the world that we live in. And with change comes loss, and so loss, if it is to be resolved, requires grief. And I believe that in most cultures men are taught to not cry and women are taught to not be angry. And beyond our socialization, it's not necessarily easy for any gender to be sad or angry, but I believe that we have to kickstart these emotions sometimes. I've done some videos on anger work you can find through searching for anger or angry. Also done some on sadness that you can search for sad or depression. But in particular, I think that a lot of people are sad, and the world, as it becomes more superficial in a sense, because the internet is increasing the amount of human contact that we have, but it's also, in order to keep up with everyone, making it a little bit more superficial, generally speaking. So it's possible for people to not want to share what they're really going through because they don't want all, X number of friends on Facebook or whatever to know what they're going through, or some of the depth of their relationships has been lost in its replacement of quantity and trying to be safe and superficial. So people can put on a performance that looks like everything's fine, but they're actually feeling sadness. And I think that feeling our grief, in particular, feeling the vulnerability of sadness, can really free us up from a lot of the things that we're using to distract ourselves from an inner sense of pain. I think that currently people are, generally speaking, over-medicated. I think there's a time, of course, for prescription medication, but it's also an easy option comparison to confronting emotions and feeling grief. And I think that alcohol and cigarettes and caffeine and all these things are used to avoid emotions, and also being really busy, and that can be used. Workaholism can be used to avoid attention, trying to do well in your quest for fame or power or whatever, career success. This can all be used to distract yourself from just that core feeling that is within you. And on a certain level, I think we store emotions in our body, and that can start to affect us in terms of physical health as well if we're not dealing with our emotional health. You can feel things free up, and even if you have to kickstart sadness, make yourself cry, making the sounds of crying, the breath patterns of crying, it can really help release old things. I recommend thinking about something that you have pain about, like a situation, a past relationship, could be something from your childhood, anything. Just really feel it out and get in the feeling of that person at that time of some uncomfortable event. And then let yourself feel anger, let yourself cry, let yourself feel really uncomfortable, and feel your way through it. Because if you don't, then it's very easy to become rigid and live a kind of android life, a robotic kind of existence in which we do everything what we need to do and take care of details and chores and errands and work, but aren't really feeling that good. And I believe feeling our way through our unresolved grief is really the way to release it, so that we just feel peaceful and calm and content in our life, and are not needy of medication or love, sex, other kinds of distractions, love and sex are not always distractions, but can be used that way. And so getting to that core sense of peacefulness truly requires grief. So again, I've done some other videos on the topic where you can search for anger, angry, sad, depression, and find some other techniques and ideas about releasing these feelings. And that's all I had to say about that. Thanks for listening.